A stray ugly big black dog was seen downstairs in the community. I just didn't want to be too lonely to live alone, so I decided to adopt it. It's ugly, but it's safe to look at. It wasn't until later that the neighbor's boss raised that handsome face, and said to me viciously, "Am I ugly? You try to say it again. It's really unseemly." I could only faintly say, "Dog, you've changed." I came home at 11 o'clock in the middle of the night. Damn boss Ken Yugen, squeezing labor every day. Recently, I have been working overtime every day, and I have been worried every day on the way home in the dark. After some washing, I lay on the bed and skillfully opened Weibo to read the topic. The headline, "How do girls who live alone keep themselves safe?" immediately caught my attention. Since graduating and working, I have achieved independence and started living alone. Living alone does have a lot of worries, there are always some worries, and sometimes I feel lonely. Looking at the empty room, where I was the only one. "Hey, do you want to make a change? Looking for a boyfriend?" "No, how can there be a man worthy of me?" I thought about it for a long time, but I didn't come up with a solution. "It's not too early, so let's think about it tomorrow. For the sake of maintaining my beautiful appearance, I can't stay up all night anymore." The next morning, I walked out of the community again radiant. Suddenly, I heard a voice from the grass next to me. I took a closer look. It's Ugly, a big black dog. Out of sympathy for the ugly man, I took out a ham sausage from my bag, and gave it to him. "Life is so good, and you are so ugly. It's really not easy." I finally came to the company and started my busy work again. It is worth mentioning that the owner, Ken Yugen, was actually late. It's rare that Ken Yugen's clothes, which have always been neat, are still a little messy. I was stunned. We had to deduct money if we were late, and he didn't have anything to do when he was late. I rolled my eyes widely. Unexpectedly, when the eyeballs turned back, they just met the boss' unwavering eyes. Ouch! My contact lenses are scratched. Let me roll my eyes a few times to get it back. I smiled awkwardly, pretended to be calm, covered my eyes, and said loudly, "Looking back, Ken Yugen is long gone." I couldn't help it, and silently rolled my eyes in my heart again. While several colleagues in the company were having lunch together, a colleague Irene Temple suddenly mentioned that she was planning to move out and live alone. "By the way, Liz Vincent, I think you lived alone." Irene Temple looked at me and asked, "How does it feel? Will I be scared and lonely, to live by myself?" I've been hesitating. This reminded me that the change I wanted last night has not yet come to fruition. It's true that I've been feeling lonely lately, but isn't living by myself just enjoying the feeling of being alone? You can help me give advice. I looked at a few of my colleagues, and hoped they had any good suggestions. "Let's get a dog. It's more suitable for single women, who live alone, which can accompany you, and protect you." "Got a dog? That's a good idea." I nodded, yes. The big black dog in the grass downstairs in the community popped up in my head, and it looked quite safe. "Why don't I help you find a pet dog with full combat effectiveness?" The colleague who had just made the comment said kindly. "No, I have a dog to choose from. There is a stray big black dog downstairs in our community this morning. I'll look for it when I get home from work." Declining my colleague's kindness, I told them what I thought. Stray dogs. Ordinary stray dogs are fierce. Are they reliable? Irene Temple reminded me. Although my appearance is not good, I feel quite safe. As soon as I finished speaking, the sound of a cup falling to the ground sounded next to me. I turned my head and it was Ken Yugen. I don't know why, but I always feel like he looks at me strangely. "Hello, boss." I smiled politely and asked. Strangely, the rich Ken Yugen also eats in the company canteen. Ken Yugen nodded in response, then picked up his plate and walked away. I shook my head, and Ken Yugen seemed to be running away. Leave work on time at 6 p.m. Today's boss didn't ask me to work overtime alone, which is really an eye-opener. But I haven't forgotten the big things. Come to the grass in front of the entrance of the complex. Wong wong tilde. That's right, that's the sound I make. This is a way to attract the attention of the big black dog. Sure enough, after a while, the big black dog came over slowly. I don't know why I can see a little contempt in this dog's eyes. The little thing, Ugly, poses quite high. I took out a ham sausage again. "Look, Tilda, what is this, ham sausage? I fed you this morning. You may remember me, after all. I am so beautiful, you can't forget me. Come home with me, I promise to make you as pretty as I am. Agree with you, just take a bite of this ham sausage, and I'll know. I put the ham sausage under the dog's mouth expectantly. Under my watchful eye, the big black dog pretended to be reserved and took a small bite. Sure enough, my charm was just too great. Let's go, puppy, let's go home. When I got home, I noticed that the dog seemed to be quite obedient along the way. Yes, I'm getting more and more satisfied. As soon as the new dog arrives at home, I decide to give him a bath first. Come on. Rarely, seeing my action of preparing to bathe it, the quiet dog along the way had a slight resistance. Hey, I'm grumpy, obedient. I spanked the dog's ass. The dog was stunned, and I took the opportunity to get my hands on it. The dog resigned himself to his fate and no longer resisted. By the way, are you a little boy or a little girl? As I washed and washed, I suddenly remembered that I didn't know the sex of my dog. Good dog, let me take a look. As if he could understand human speech, the dog began to resist violently like never before. I took advantage of my size, and took a strong look. Yo, we're still a boy. The dog wilted instantly, burying its head in its two front legs. Don't be shy, I'll give you a name. I took a look at it. PP. I'll call you PP. The PP visible to the naked eye wilted even more. After giving PP a bath, I washed myself up by the way. Then simply give yourself and the dog something to eat. After lying on the bed, I was embarrassed to look at the PP sitting on the edge of the bed. Where do the dogs live? The adoption was too hasty, and I didn't buy anything. Or, let's sleep in bed with my sister tonight, I said to the PP. Just reacted that PP couldn't hear people's words, and was about to pat the bed to signal. PP has quickly run to the bed and lie down, but it is quite human. You'll be responsible for protecting your sister from now on. Did you hear that, PP? Received a sound from Wang. I put my arm around the PP and instructed. PP's eyes were a little helpless, but I still couldn't help it under my eye attack. Wang, good dog. I gave it a rewarding kiss. It seems that there is always a feeling that PP is coaxing me. The day after I adopted PP, I was even more energetic. Before going to work, I instructed PP. There is a Ken Yugen in my sister's company. I always let my sister work overtime. I am annoyed. If I come back late tonight, remember to pick me up at the gate of the community after dark. After saying that, I touched the dog's head. Wang, PP screamed, and it automatically became received in my ears. I nodded in satisfaction. Arrived at the post on time and started the daily life of social animals. Today's boss is again a boss who is long overdue. My boss has been working so late for the past 2 days. Does he have a girlfriend? The Irene Temple next to me ran into my ear and gossiped. No matter how late you come, people are still bosses, and we can't climb with or without a girlfriend. I turned into the gossip face of the Irene Temple. It's not the same as our life. Well, that's right. Irene Temple sighed. By the way, Liz Vincent, how is that stray dog you adopted? Very good. I'm very happy except for my looks. When it comes to PP, I can't help but show off. Super obedient, not fierce at all. Stray dogs are obedient, don't ignore them too much. Should you get the vaccine? Vaccine. I'm not too familiar with having a dog. Indeed, PP has been wandering, and the pet dog vaccine that should be given has not been given. It's a matter of urgency. Let's get off work, and the pet hospital will also get off work. Why don't you go and take a little leave of absence with Ken Yugen? Thinking about PP, I decided to take the risk of taking a leave of absence. PP, you don't know how much you paid for your sister. Knock knock. Please come in. Prepared, I knocked on the door of Ken Yugen's office. Boss, I'm Liz Vincent. Seeing my boss raise his head, I was a little nervous and speechless. Well, I know, what's wrong? Well, I've recently adopted a stray dog, boss. You know, a girl who lives alone has a dog to protect herself. I was a little incoherent. I want to take my dog for a vaccination. I want to take a leave of absence. I waited tormentedly for Ken Yugen's answer. Well, yes. What time are you leaving? Yes. So happy. I looked up at Ken Yugen, and saw that the boss' ears were a little red. Seeing that I didn't respond, Ken Yugen asked me again. 3 points. After being stunned for a moment, I reacted instantly and hurriedly answered the boss. Okay, thank you, boss. How's it going? Seeing me back, Irene Temple couldn't wait to ask. It's painful, it's unbelievably painful, I replied numbly, still a little unconscious. It's you, Liz Vincent, and the boss can't match your charm. Take a deep breath and I'm fully awake by this time. Forget it, maybe the boss is in a good mood today. Inexplicably, I remembered the flush in Ken Eugen's ears, and rarely saw his somewhat sullen and shy look. Thinking back to Irene Temple's previous speculation about Ken Eugen's love, I suddenly felt a little absent-minded, remembering the first time I met Ken Eugen. Ken Eugen is actually not only my boss, but also my college senior, 3 years older than me. When I first started school, I heard the name of Ken Eugen. People are handsome, have a good family background, and study well. I heard that he also founded his own company, and he can be described as a popular figure in the school. The first time I met him was when I was a sophomore. At that time, the school held a centennial celebration, and Ken Eugen came back to give a speech as an outstanding graduate. I was in charge of handing over the speech to Ken Eugen when he took the stage. But there was no Ken Eugen in the speech that day that the host handed me a speech, and when everyone complained that I had lost the speech, Ken Eugen stood up. Don't be in a hurry to blame others for unfounded things. It's not a big deal if you don't have a speech, and it may be better to improvise. Indeed, Ken Eugen's presentation went very well later. It was also at that moment that I fell in love with him. In the 4 years of college, I studied hard. After graduating, I went to interview Ken Eugen's company. At that time, I was the only one who was admitted to the interview, and I was not the best resume. It got me thinking a little bit. I'm so beautiful, can't Ken Eugen resist it? But then I realized that I was wrong, and Ken Eugen was merciless in my work. In particular, he often asked me to work overtime. Even though I worked overtime, he would also work overtime. But there's still no communication throughout the whole process, okay? I was really frustrated with my charisma. It's just a good thing that the offensive was not launched, otherwise it would have ended in failure. Finishing Ken Eugen's plan, I rubbed my sore neck. It was only about 2:30 in the afternoon. Suddenly, the door to the boss' office opened. Ken Eugen came out looking like he was going to leave work. Passing by me, he seemed to give me a look. Isn't it, the boss is off work today? Irene Temple gossiped in my ear again. I guess I went with my girlfriend. I guessed. Tut tut, the power of love has made us Ken Eugen skip work. Irene Temple was still sighing, but I felt a little bad in my heart. Finally, until 3 o'clock, I said hello to Irene Temple and prepared to go first. When I got home, I shouted PP while changing my shoes. After a while, PP ran over. My sister came back this morning to accompany you to get vaccinated. Although we are ugly, we are no less than others. After the injection and examination, let's go to the pet store again, shall we? I touched the dog's head while talking to PP about my plan. Not to mention that although this dog is ugly, its fur is soft and comfortable. After cleaning up, I went out with the PP. By the time everything was ready, it was already evening. I heard that dogs have to walk a lot, and after eating, PP and I walked around the community. Although the surroundings are quiet, walking on the street with PP, this sense of security is really bursting. I looked at PP. This dog is usually very quiet and obedient, and he has his own requirements for food, drink, and housing. Suddenly it feels a bit like Ken Eugen. I laughed, provoked PP to look back at me. I squatted down and said as I smoothed the dog's hair, "It always feels like you're like my Ken Eugen. Don't you think it's funny?" I don't know if I feel wrong, but as soon as I finished speaking, I felt the PP stiffen a little. But he seems to have a girlfriend, and you're still a single dog. As soon as the words fell, the dog's face of PP instantly turned to face me, and his eyes seemed to be full of confusion. You. As soon as I heard my girlfriend, I was in good spirits, and my sister will find you a beautiful girl, another day. But you have to look better, or the pretty dog won't look down on you. I was inexplicably a little amused, and suddenly I thought it would be nice to have such a dog with me. I've been paying special attention at work these days because I find that my boss, Ken Eugen, is always staring at me. This is not my imagination alone. Liz Vincent, have you offended Ken Eugen lately? Irene Temple gossiped in my ear again. Ken Eugen has been staring at you every day, intentionally or not. these days. How do I know? Heaven and earth conscience. I am working diligently. I was so wronged. I really want to put Ken Yugen's ear and ask him, don't donate your eyes to people in need. Why do you stare at others all day long? The opportunity soon came, and the boss assistant asked me to revise a document and deliver it to the boss office in person. Seeing Irene Temple's encouraging eyes, I knocked on my boss office door as if I were dead. Please come in, boss. The file has been modified. Here you go. I carefully placed the papers on Ken Yugen's desk. When I looked up again, I saw the boss frowning. My heart skipped a beat. Liz Vincent, you seem to be scared of me, Ken Yugen said grimly. Where? The boss is generous and handsome, and I can't worship it too late. I wiped a handful of bitter tears, and said against my will. As soon as I finished speaking, the boss' ears magically turned red again. It's a little sample, and it's quite sullen. So you can say that. Why can't you speak when you were wrong before? Heh. Once again, I looked up at Ken Yugen in shock. I guess it might have been when I was wronged in my sophomore year, but I don't understand how Ken Yugen could suddenly bring it up. You forgot. I explained it to you at the time. Seeing that I didn't answer, Ken Yugen said again, of course I haven't forgotten. I haven't thanked you, boss. Also, I didn't mean to let you work overtime before. I have my own considerations. Consider? What to consider? Do you set up a good boss for yourself? Ahem. Seeing my puzzled look, Ken Yugen coughed dryly. Anyway, it's good that you know. I won't say more, and I won't let you work overtime in the future. I just know. What do I know? But I still understand the phrase, not working overtime, which is still good. Okay, boss. Is there anything else you can do? I'm fine. But if there's anything you want to ask me, just ask. Heh. Am I really confused again? What medicine does Ken Yugen sell in gourds? Ken Yugen looked at me and nodded firmly. I should know, I said hesitantly. Ken Yugen's face suddenly turned cold. What did I say wrong? Boss, I'm leaving. After a while, Ken Yugen nodded coldly, just as I opened the office door with a sense of relief. Wait a minute. Heh. Boss, is there anything else? I stiffened my head. I don't have a girlfriend. Got it. Ken Yugen's words hit me so hard that I didn't react. No. Got it. I responded in a panic. Ken Yugen nodded in satisfaction. Okay, you can go back. Back in my seat, I was still a little relieved. How did you go for so long? How? Until Irene Temple gossiped in my ear in a familiar pose. You say, a man inexplicably tells you that he doesn't have a girlfriend. Why? What the hell? Ken Yugen specifically told you that he doesn't have a girlfriend. Irene Temple was so excited that she almost jumped up. Liz Vincent, no, I should call you the boss. Don't be like this. You haven't written the 8 characters yet. In Irene Temple's playful eyes, I was rarely a little shy. Why don't you count our hostess? Ahem. Go to work. Don't gossip every day. Yo yo yo. This is on the boss' latest shelf, ha ha ha. After sending Irene Temple, I touched my face, still blushing a little. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. I'm still so excited. It was another afternoon without overtime. I got home early, rushed back to the room, buried his head in the quilt, fell on the bed and screamed silently, and pounded the bed silently. My mind is full of Ken Yugen's, I don't have a girlfriend. I suddenly felt like I was working overtime, at least to see Ken Yugen 2 more times. But lately, Ken Yugen has been off work early. I lifted my head from the covers and saw PP standing at the door of the room. That dog's face was full of contempt for me, and it looked like Ken Yugen. I patted my face. Why does this ugly dog look like Ken Yugen now? PP, come. I waved to the PP. When PP received the signal, he ran to the bed and lay on my stomach. PP, my love seems to be rekindled. I put my arms around PP. As cute as Ken Yugen, with such a sweet mood. I had a happy evening. The next day was Friday, and I woke up early and cleaned up delicately. PP, how's it going? Am I good looking? I'm going to amaze Ken Yugen today. Before going out, I touched PP's head as usual, and I set foot on the way to the company. Liz Vincent is dressed up today. Women are pleasing to themselves. I know everything. As soon as I arrived at the office, Irene Temple winked at me and quipped, "It's good to know. It's not cute to say it." I made a joke with Irene Temple. Today Ken Yugen is late again. There is a regular working meeting every Friday, and Ken Yugen analyzes the company's recent work performance. And after a few sentences, the meeting ends. Everyone walked out of the conference room one after another. Just as I was about to step out of the door, a familiar voice sounded behind me, calling out to me, "Liz Vincent." Hey. I turned around, a little nervous. "You're beautiful today." "Oh no, you were beautiful before, and you're even more beautiful today." I looked at Ken Yugen. His face flushed slightly, and I guess I was a little embarrassed by what I said. I couldn't help but laugh, but I held back. "Thank you, boss. You don't have to be so outside. Just call me by my name. After all, I was also your senior before, so let's treat me as a friend now." "Okay, thank you, Senna." "Ken Yugen." I looked at him with some teasingness. "Ahem, it's a bit bad to even have a first name and a last name. Remove the last name. Don't call the senior. Just call a name." Ken Yugen coughed and looked at me. Now it was my turn to be stunned. "Ken. How do I call this an exit?" I felt my face turn red all of a sudden. Seeing that I didn't answer, Ken Yugen also felt a little sudden. "Let's call me Ken first. I'll talk about the rest later." "Ahem, you go back first." As soon as he finished speaking, I thought it was too embarrassing and left the conference room quickly. Seeing me return to my seat with a flushed face, Irene Temple couldn't help but gossip again. It's a spring breeze. Why have you been doing it every day lately? It's not that someone has too many situations, and the spring breeze all day long makes people envious. What's the matter? Don't say it. That's it in the company. Who knows what it's been like in private?" Irene Temple gossiped again. I thought about it for a moment, and it dawned on me that Ken Yugen and I didn't seem to have anything in common. Suddenly I thought that feelings came inexplicably. Seeing that I was stunned, Irene Temple guessed a little. No, you don't have any communication in private. Do you rely on spiritual ambiguity? A few words make a woman begin to lose her soul. In this way, I continued to lose my soul until I returned home. No, the initiative has a story. I lay down on the couch and began to edit the text word by word. "Senior Ken Yugen, I've always wanted to ask you how early you have been leaving work lately. Is there something wrong?" Sent successfully. Then I started glancing at my phone for 2 seconds, and it was a minute, and I didn't reply. Busy. Half an hour passed, and still didn't return. He turned on the rampage mode. The PP next to me was startled by me, and he stopped eating the high-grade dog food, and looked at me suspiciously. "PP, I'm out of love again. Half an hour. Ken Yugen doesn't reply to my messages. He's really the same as he goes to work and gets off work. Don't wait. I'm going to sleep." After giving out some complaints, I turned around and went back to my room. After lying in bed tossing and turning for an hour, suddenly the mobile phone rang 3 times. I immediately sat up. It's a message from Ken Yugen. "I'm sorry, I didn't see it just now. I got off work early recently because I couldn't leave because I had something at home. Recently, I may be busy after work, and the news will not be timely, but I can chat with you when I am not busy during work hours, and we can also eat together at noon. You're probably asleep now. Good night, good dreams." Sure enough, he still cares about me. I'll just say that no one can resist my charm. I couldn't resist sharing this good news with the dog. PP. I opened the door to the room, and there was no PP in the kennel in the living room. PP. I screamed again. Wong. A dog barked at the door. "How do you sit at the door?" PP. "Come here. What's going on?" I feel that PP suddenly has a sense of vicissitudes of running day and night. I touched PP's head. "You're going to have a brother-in-law." Surprised. PP's puppy tail wagged more cheerfully, and it seemed that he was also happy. After expressing my excitement, I quickly fell asleep in bed. A good night's sleep. The next day, on the weekend, I was woken up early in the morning by a voice next door. "Why is it so noisy outside?" I looked through the cat's eye, and it turned out to be the decoration next door. "Looks like it's time to move in with a new neighbor." PP. After barking for a long time, no dog answered. "Where did you run again?" I lay on the couch and ate breakfast thinking about why PP hadn't come back. Suddenly a question came to my mind. How did the PP get out? My house is on the 6th floor, and the door is locked. Thinking of the door lock, I opened it and tried it, and it was still locked. It's weird, isn't it? PP is a genius dog. I'm going to wait and see. Finally, around 10 o'clock, the door lock moved. In the middle of the day, a dog's paw stretched out first. I've got you, I yelled, successfully scaring the dog who had just entered the door. PP, tell my sister that you're not a simple dog, are you? I accurately captured PP's dilated pupils. Okay, I've got it. Sure enough, my Liz Vincent dog is also a powerful dog. I can leave me to you with confidence. The corners of PP's mouth twitched, probably embarrassed by my nonsensical speech. The days passed little by little. The next door neighbor Shenlong saw the head and the tail, and PP was also elusive. But Ken Yugen and I have more communication after work. Let's have a meal together on the weekend. Yes, yes. The rare Ken Yugen offered to ask me out, and I didn't hesitate to say yes. A rare date, going to the movies after eating, is a good time for men and women to promote their relationship. At the end of the week, I dressed up carefully, and was about to go out, when I suddenly realized that there was a dog at home. PP, my sister is out. PP, where are you fooling around? Anyway, it can protect itself, and I don't bother anymore. So I turned around and went out. When I walked to the entrance of the community, and was about to take a taxi, I found that Ken Yugen was already waiting there. Ken Yugen, why are you here? I'm a little confused. Of course I'm waiting for you. Can't you see it? Ken Yugen was even more confused. Did I tell you my address? I tried to think about it in my head, and I always felt that something was not right. This is written on the employee's entry information, and I will know. Ken Yugen explained incoherently. I was a little skeptical, but I really couldn't think of any other reason. Really? Then you're pretty careful. Get in the car and fasten your seatbelts. Where to eat? I looked at him expectantly. Didn't you want to eat the recently opened DeFu hot pot recently? I'll take you to eat. Ken Yugen answered me as he drove. I also saw it on Douyin before going to bed last night, and I think it should be super good, haha. As I looked at Ken Yugen, I felt more and more that this man was very caring. I even remember what I wanted to eat last night. Last night. That's right, I casually said in bed last night that I wanted to eat DeFu hot pot. How would Ken Yugen know? There was only one PP present. How do you know I want to eat? I stared at Ken Yugen, not letting go of the slightest change in the expression on his face. Let's feel it. Yeah, feel. I think you're going to enjoy it. A big boss was a little flustered under the pressure of my eyes. Seeing him like this, my mind flashed. Do you recognize an ugly black dog? Heh, I guess you must know my clever dog. Didn't he give you a message? Sort of. I do know such a big black dog of PP. At the end of the day, it always felt like Ken Yugen was gritting his teeth. After some conversation, I soon came to the restaurant that Ken Yugen had booked in advance. Why did you suddenly remember to invite me to dinner? I couldn't help but ask, and looked at him expectantly. Isn't this a good opportunity for men and women to promote their relationship? After a meal, you come and go. You say yes. This is a familiar statement. I have said it before. I was a little embarrassed by Ken Yugen's teasing eyes. What? This ambiguous relationship? No. I'll have to make it clear and see if he really means anything to me. Just as I was about to ask, my phone rang suddenly. A call from my mother. I looked up and gestured to Ken Yugen, got up and stepped aside. Hey, Mom, what's wrong? Liz Vincent, your dad has been unwell lately. You and I can accompany him to the hospital this afternoon. What's going on? What's uncomfortable? As soon as I heard that my dad was sick, I was a little anxious. I don't know. I'll have to go to the hospital to see if I want to. Okay, I'll go now. Hanging up, I sat back down at the table. What's wrong? Before I could speak, Ken Yugen asked with concern. I'm sorry. Something happened to my dad. I have to go and see it. This meal can't be eaten. I'll treat you another day. In such a hurry. Do you need me to send you? No, I've already got a good ride. With that, I walked out of the restaurant quickly. Okay, then I'll wait for you at home. Ken Yugen's voice came from behind him, but he didn't hear it too clearly. I waved my hand and got into the car. I accompanied my parents to the hospital, and I did a full body examination for the two elders just in case. My father was uncomfortable because he was old, and the root of the illness he had saved when he was young came out with a series of problems. Prescribed some medicine and sent the second elder back home. After this toss, it was already more than 1 o'clock in the middle of the night when I returned to the gate of the community. The neighborhood at this time is exceptionally quiet, even a little infiltrating. I moved quickly, but I could clearly hear the footsteps following me. I was scared, thinking that I was probably being followed. Suddenly, the footsteps behind him were getting closer and closer, and Yu Guang saw the shadows behind him gradually approaching. I started running, and the man behind me caught up. I never felt like the journey home had ever been so long. Finally, I was almost downstairs at home. Suddenly a hand reached out from behind me and grabbed me. The other hand covered my mouth and held me back. I kept struggling, screaming loudly, PP, PP. Now I hope that PP can hear my cry for help and save me. Realizing that I was calling for help, the man behind me covered my mouth and nose even harder. Consciousness is somewhat blurred, but I faintly heard the sound of a dog barking. The person dragging behind me let go, and I shouted exhausted. In a blur, a pair of hands picked me up. Unlike the man who was following just now, there was a familiar scent of pine on his body. Ken Yugen. Then I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, it was already the next morning, and I was already in my bed. Next to me, Ken Yugen sat in a chair and lay on the edge of my bed. Ken Yugen. Hearing my voice, the man in front of him slowly raised his head. Liz Vincent, when you wake up, drink some water. Seeing that I was awake, Ken Yugen took a glass of water and brought it to my mouth. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. Holding the water, I wasn't thinking of Ken Yugen at this time. Looking at the empty room with no dogs, I'm fine. Where's PP? Ken Yugen was stunned for a moment. I think I heard PP screaming before I passed out. Where did it go? Seeing Ken Yugen silent, my heart went cold. Woo woo, it's all my fault. My PP, in order to save me, just died. Let me see it one last time. Ken Yugen, just one last time. Ken Yugen held his forehead with a helpless expression. Liz Vincent, don't get excited. You don't understand. PP is already like my own brother and sister. I shook Ken Yugen off my hand. If it weren't for PP, you wouldn't have seen me. I looked at Ken Yugen with grief. Ken Yugen frowned, raised his head and stared at me slowly, and asked, me or PP, which do you choose? I'm speechless. What a fatal problem this is. Ken Yugen, when did you ask me such a question? You're forcing me to choose between you and the life-saving dog. I don't choose. I vetoed the question and swore not to answer it. It seems that I am not as good as a dog in your heart, and I compare myself with a dog to make you so entangled. Ken Yugen's tone was cold. I almost slipped on my feet. Ken Yugen and PP were jealous. I won't tell you. I'm going to find PP. I just want to get out of the scene and escape Ken Yugen now. As I stepped out of the room, a hand grabbed me by the collar and dragged me back into the room. Wait, what are you doing? I looked at Ken Yugen in front of me and said angrily, Liz Vincent, you're really getting more and more arrogant about me. The way you used to stand cowering in my office. If you have something to say, let it go. Don't keep talking about the past. Jokes. This is not the same as it used to be. Like PP, of course. Well, I accept your liking. What is it? What do you accept or not? Shameless. Ken Yugen. However, Ken Yugen's next move silenced me. I'm PP. PP is me. Accompanied by a magic spell from Ken Yugen, I saw with my own eyes that the handsome guy in front of me turned into a big black dog of PP. PP. In the blink of an eye, Ken Yugen appeared in front of me again. Ken Yugen. My mind was a mess. Love doesn't come out of nowhere. I've been around you in countless corners. I'm both PP, helping you look after your home and accompanying you, and Ken Yugen, protecting you. Anyway, Liz Vincent, I've liked you for a long time. What about you? I didn't react to Ken Yugen's confession. I was stunned for a long time before I came up with a stupid sentence. You're a dog. Heh, you really are. I'm confessing. Liz Vincent. Ken Yugen looked like he hated that iron could not be made of steel. If you promise me first, I'll tell you. Okay then. I agreed. I still couldn't hold back my blushing face when I said this. Ahem, tell me, I'm actually an ancient beast, but it just looks like a dog. Then did you jump out of the stone like Monkey King? Or were you born like a human? Of course I was born in the womb, and you will also give birth to a little divine beast in the future. Would that be as ugly as you? I'm a little worried. Am I ugly? Try it and say it again. Ken Yugen's eyes instantly became dangerous. I'm just a little curious. I gestured a little bit, curious. Then give it a try. As he spoke, Ken Yugen put his arm around me and pressed me down on the bed. Hey, I was about to protest, but Ken Yugen blocked the words. When I opened my eyes again, it was already afternoon. I had a dry mouth and was going to get out of my room to get some water. Awake. In the kitchen, Ken Yugen came out with 2 bowls of porridge. Eat something. I'll take you to my parents later. Ahem. It's all Ken Yugen's fault. And I choked. Isn't it so fast? Fast. But I've been waiting for a long time. Long. I captured the word accurately. Tell me, Ken Yugen, you've been liking me for a long time. I raised an eyebrow triumphantly at him. Indeed, Ken Yugen didn't refute and touched my head. Everyone yearns for someone like little son. This makes me a little embarrassed. Then Ken Yugen talks about the first time he met me. It was on the rooftop of the school, and I was faced with the choice of inheriting my parents' company and starting my own business. I wanted to start my own business to prove myself, but at the same time I didn't have confidence in myself. Ken Yugen recalls, you were there at the time, rehearsing your speech for the class committee, and that confidence I can't even forget now. Just that glance. I listened happily with my face in my hands. At the end of the day, I'm attractive. Yes, it's all because you're too attractive. Suddenly, I remembered that Ken Yugen had asked me to work overtime all day. Then you still let me work overtime every day. That's not to let me look at you more, but also to let you see me at work. Don't people say that men who work hard are the most handsome? Ken Yugen explains in all seriousness. Not necessarily. I rolled my eyes. I hated you to death. Wrong. Didn't I change it later? Did I? Besides, in order to reply to your message in time, I also moved next door to you. Okay. See that you admit your mistakes and have a good attitude. I'll forgive you. Thank you, wife. Who's your wife? Ken Yugen. Don't be ashamed. And then my love story with Ken Yugen went very well. See parents. Get engaged. Get married. Everything is so just right, except when you're pregnant. Every day I worry about what will happen to a child like Ken Yugen. Wife, I'm not ugly. Ken Yugen said he didn't understand my concerns. Don't you know how ugly your dog looks? My fault is my fault. But with your wife, your genes, the dog must have become better looking. Whenever I'm angry, Ken Yugen grabs my lifeline and comforts me just right. I'm lucky to have Ken Yugen. Of course, having me is also Ken Yugen's greatest luck. The end.